The galactic prison ship Devastation's Mercy drifted in low orbit above the scarred moon of Calthor V, casting a metallic shadow over the cratered landscape. Inside, the atmosphere was sterile, humming with the rhythmic throb of containment fields and the mechanical pulse of life support. Guards clanked in synchronized patrols, their armor polished to imperial standard, their weapons overcharged for intimidation rather than necessity. In cell block 12, behind a shimmering kinetic field, sat a girl. She looked no older than 18. Human. Petite. Brown hair tied back in a loose ponytail. No visible scars or military rank. Just a simple gray outfit, bare feet tucked beneath her on the narrow slab of a bench. She sat cross-legged, hands resting on her lap, humming something soft and strangely melodic. It wasn't alien. It wasn't even galactic standard. It was Earth music. An old one. That alone unsettled Commander Rill, who stood outside the cell with a datapad trembling slightly in his hands. "She hasn't stopped humming for 2 hours," he said, glancing sideways at the taller figure looming beside him. Admiral Krelvier of the Tarnath Dominion let out a slow, wet sigh through his respirator vents. "Humans hum," he said, as if explaining an evolutionary flaw. "Their species cannot cope with silence." "Sir," Rill tried again, eyes flicking toward the datapad. "We've identified her. Eva Warner. No combat record. Civilian. But she surrendered alone. During a planetary sweep. Walked directly into the tri-beam perimeter and said, quote, 'I think you're looking for me.' And?" She smiled. The Admiral's eyes narrowed, pale yellow slits shifting toward the cell. Smiled. "Sir, may I request a psychological?" "No," Krelvier interrupted. "You may not. We do not need to waste resources on primitives playing games." Inside the cell, Eva Warner looked up. She saw them watching. And she smiled. Commander Rill flinched. It wasn't the smile that unnerved him. It was the calmness. The eerie serenity that belonged in temples, not prison ships. "Has she said anything of value?" Krelvier asked, as if the answer could only be no. Rill hesitated. "She corrected our star map. Said one of the sectors we control doesn't belong to us anymore." Krelvier turned fully to face him now, attention sharpening. "Which sector?" "Triangulum Minor Outpost 2C. The one we just claimed from the Velix. That was 2 weeks ago. I had the techs verify it." Rill looked pale. "That outpost is gone. No distress signal. No wreckage. Just gone." For the first time in days, silence settled in the corridor. Eva cocked her head to the side and said, through the field, "I told you. That bit wasn't yours anymore." Krelvier turned to face her. "You destroyed an outpost?" "No," she said gently. "You just failed to notice it was removed." "Removed?" She didn't elaborate. Just smiled again and returned to humming. This time, something vaguely rhythmic, like an earth marching cadence, but slowed down. "Tell me," Krelvier asked as he strode closer. "What is it you think will happen now, little earthling?" "I think you'll wish I'd stayed quiet," Eva replied, not unkindly. Commander Rill nearly dropped his datapad. "You are an unarmed girl," the Admiral said. "Alone. Detained. Powerless." Eva looked up again. Her eyes were a soft hazel. "Do you know what a punchline is?" "I do not." "Well, you're standing in one." Krelvier turned to Rill. "Prepare the execution chamber. We'll broadcast it." "Sir." "No delays, Commander. I want every subjugated colony to witness the truth of defiance. If Earth dares send children to spy on us, then let the galaxy watch her burn." Eva's expression didn't change. If anything, her shoulders relaxed. "Do you require last words?" Krelvier mocked. "Not yet," she replied. "Give it about 27 minutes." Rill opened his mouth, shut it, then whispered, "Why 27 minutes?" Eva's gaze turned toward him. There was no malice, only pity. "Because that's how long it takes for my dad to finish shaving," she said. "And you called early." Your father? Krell asked, suddenly amused. Is he some sort of planetary governor? Eva's smile deepened. Not exactly. Krell gestured to the guards. Take her to the chamber. Securely. Gag her if necessary. I'm done listening to children's fables. Eva rose smoothly, standing barefoot on the cold metal floor. She didn't resist. In fact, she held out her hands. I won't run, she said. Wouldn't be polite. The guards hesitated. Her tone had the cadence of someone offering tea, not preparing for death. Krell turned on his heel and strode away, muttering, Have the galaxy tuned in? I want this to sting. Commander Rill remained behind, watching the girl being led away. She walked like someone on vacation. Hands loose. Shoulders relaxed. Not a twitch of fear. He found himself whispering, What are you? She turned just as she passed him and said quietly, I'm Eva Warner. From Earth. And I hope you told your next of kin that you were working today. Then she was gone, escorted through the doors. In the control room, screens blinked to life. Across hundreds of worlds, ships, and stations, the execution announcement blared in multiple dialects. Attention! A human spy has been captured. Witness now the final fate of those who defy the Galactic Empire. The camera focused on Eva as she stepped onto the platform. She wasn't shackled. She wasn't even restrained. She simply stood there, arms by her sides, expression calm. Admiral Krell took the podium. This, he announced to billions, is what Earth sends in defiance. A girl. Weak. Alone. Let her fate be the example. Eva raised one hand gently. If I could just say one thing? She asked. The Admiral scoffed. Make it short. Eva looked into the camera, her eyes somehow steady and infinite. I'm not the message, she said. I'm the invitation. Then she smiled. And every screen in the galaxy, every comm relay, every military drone, every trade beacon, went black. Just for a moment. Then a single signal replaced the broadcast. 3 words. Blinking. In deep crimson text. I'm coming. In the control room, the technicians froze. What was that? Krell barked. Who authorized it? No one, sir. A panicked officer shouted. It's not from us. It's not from any known system. Rill stared at his console. A chill crawled down his spine. One of the screens lit up again. An old galactic language appeared. Runes no one had used in millennia. Varnix, the ancient scholar, burst into the room, cloak fluttering behind him. Where is the girl? He demanded. Being executed. Krell snapped. Varnix's voice shook. Then you have already damned us all. Why? The scholar pointed at the runes. Do you know what name those symbols spell out? Krell leaned closer. His alien pupils contracted. Adam Warner. Who is that? He whispered. Varnix looked at him, face pale. You've never heard the old stories. The tactician who burned an entire fleet without firing a shot. The one whose silence scared the Erexal into surrender. The human they called the Baba Yaga. The room went cold. Every officer suddenly felt very, very small. She said her father was shaving, Rill whispered. And he's never late, Varnix replied, voice hoarse. In the execution chamber, Eva looked at the flickering lights above. She wasn't afraid. She was waiting. Exactly 27 minutes after her message, a tremor rolled through the hull of Devastation's Mercy. All ship systems rebooted. A single shuttle uncloaked from within the moon's shadow. No registration. No weapons visible. Yet half the security systems shut themselves off at its arrival. In the silent command bridge, an urgent proximity alert chirped. And one final message appeared on screen, short and polite. She's grounded for sneaking off. I'll be picking her up shortly. It was signed simply, Dad. And across the galaxy, every species that read it asked the same question. What have we done? Eva Warner, still calm, still smiling, stepped forward toward the guards. You can lower the weapons now, she said. Daddy hates messes. None of them moved. Then the doors opened with a hiss, and a shadow stepped through. No army. No weapons. Just boots. Boots that didn't make a sound. And that's when every alien in that room, every species watching the feed realized. They hadn't captured a girl. They'd summoned the storm. And it was already here. The silence after Adam Warner's message was the most terrifying thing in the galaxy. It wasn't static. It wasn't failure. It was intentional. Across dozens of Galactic Empire star sectors, systems began reporting strange anomalies. Long-range scanners returned nonsense data, readings suggesting gravitational echoes of vessels that couldn't possibly exist. Entire comm arrays reset themselves and reconnected not to the Empire's secure network, but to an old, encrypted signal not seen in over a decade. That signal had one word, encoded in hundreds of obsolete dialects. Warned. Inside Devastation's Mercy, the command bridge was chaos. Sirens were cut, not because danger had passed, but because the ship systems no longer recognized itself as a registered Imperial vessel. The main AI shut down with a message none of the techs could interpret, written in an archaic Earth programming language. Admiral Krelvier stood stiffly, mandibles twitching, as dozens of terrified crews shouted diagnostics, power cycles, and defensive protocols. Why hasn't the fleet responded? He snapped. No signals are getting out, sir. It's like the relay grid's been hijacked. Hijacked? By primitives? He refused to believe it. Earth was barely an outer system mess of cities and oceans, famous mostly for obnoxious diplomats and that awful beverage they called coffee. It was not a threat. And yet, status on the prisoner? Krelvier demanded. Gone, sir, came Commander Rill's shaky voice from the lower level. She's off the ship. Krelvier turned, face losing color. What? She left, Rill said, eyes wide. Just walked out of the chamber. No one stopped her. She wasn't restrained. You mean she escaped? No, sir. She left. With someone. Rill played back the footage. What little remained showed a door hissing open. A black silhouette walking through without tripping any sensors. Eva rising from the execution platform. Smiling. And following him out. She waved at the camera as she left. Krelvier watched it on loop. She was never a prisoner, Varnix whispered beside him. She was a fuse. Fuses burn, Krelvier growled. We can still control this. But Varnix didn't respond. He was staring at a new alert on the console. Emergency priority. Veil Watch assets detected in Sector Grid 774. Initiate Silent Protocol Omega. The last time the Empire had seen that protocol activated, 3 planetary governments went dark in under 6 hours. We need to call the High Conclave, Krelvier muttered. We need to run, Varnix corrected. But it was already too late. Back in Imperial Central Command, halfway across the galaxy, an emergency meeting convened via quantum relay. Dozens of alien species, proud, ancient, arrogant, gathered in holographic presence. On the table was one thing: Earth. Tell me this is a coincidence, demanded General Verwin of the Drell Collective, slamming his segmented claws on the table. It is not, said Ambassador the Rex of the Jothal. That girl wasn't bait. She was a key. To what? Asked another. To something we should never have locked. From Earth's moon to Saturn's rings, human military facilities previously dormant began lighting up. What the Empire had dismissed as primitive scrap, old tanks, manned gunships, kinetic rail cannons, were now activating under old protocols. The absurdity was insulting. One Jothal counselor scoffed. They're using projectile weapons? Where are the plasma lances? Then came the feed. A black and white drone video from a jungle world the Empire had seized decades ago. They had left only a skeleton garrison to keep the native fauna under control. The feed showed one human tank. M1A2 Abrams. It looked ancient. It moved like thunder. And in a single shot, it collapsed a defensive tower made of quantum alloy, an alloy supposedly impervious to all non-energy weaponry. The rail round cracked the earth, sent sonic ripples across the jungle canopy, and ignited a weapons dump half a mile away. The garrison screamed for help. The Empire sent 3 ships. All 3 went dark before they even broke the atmosphere. And still, the tank moved. From space, satellites showed a pattern. It wasn't random. The tank was carving Earth's flag into the jungle. With fire. What kind of monster builds a war machine that runs on fuel and fear? Someone gasped. A human one, Varnix replied in the council's silence. In his private chamber aboard the stealth corvette Whisper's End, Adam Warner stood over a dusty wooden crate. He was a man of unremarkable build, salt and pepper hair cropped short, eyes unreadable behind a dark visor. He opened the crate. Inside was a pair of gloves, battered and worn, and a single photograph. Eva, age 4, holding a balloon shaped like a dragon. He touched the edge of the image gently, then placed it in a sealed compartment on his chest plate. "Ship," he said. "Yes, Commander Warner?" Came the calm voice of the old Earthship AI. "Are we in range?" "We've been in range since," she said, 27 minutes. "Good. Deploy Veil units. Target only command nodes and relay infrastructure. No civilians. No mercy." "As always, sir." On the Galactic Empire's most fortified starbase, Draxir Prime, the central communications array fried itself mid-signal. Thousands of starships lost orientation. Supply chains collapsed. No explosions. Just silence. Across the stars, human infiltration units, coded into the galactic net for years, activated. Imperial ships docked at trading posts' self-vented atmosphere. Energy weapons malfunctioned in their holsters. Elite officers found their escape shuttles locked down, engines overridden by cheerful Earth AIs that played smooth jazz while rerouting life support. "We're under attack," screamed an admiral in the council chamber. "No," said Varnix grimly. "You attacked. They're just correcting your mistake." On board Devastation's Mercy, Krell VA pounded the console. "Where are the reinforcements? Where is the fleet?" No response. Shouted a tech. "We've lost comms with 73 battle groups." "That's impossible." Then a soft ping echoed through the bridge. "New transmission. No source listed. Just text. You shouldn't have touched his daughter." It was followed by the Earth Embassy seal. And then a video feed flickered on. Eva, now seated in what looked like a simple Earth kitchen. She was eating cereal. "Hi," she said with a wave. "Eva Warner," Krell VA growled. "You will tell us where you are." "I'm home," she replied casually. "You're the ones who got lost. You declared war on the Empire." "No," she said between spoonfuls. "You kidnapped a civilian. Tried to kill her. You declared war on my family. You don't get to pick the terms now." She paused. Then smiled, but this time it wasn't kind. "It's my dad's turn now." Krell VA leaned back, trembling. "We're facing a terror campaign. There are no terms. No negotiators." Eva looked into the camera. "I know," she said. "That's how you know it's serious." And then she stood up, chair scraping softly, and said, "You all think humans are primitive. You think we're weak, emotional, disorganized. But there's one thing you never understood." She walked toward the camera, leaned in close. "When someone touches our family, we don't bring diplomacy." She tapped the screen twice. "We bring Dad." The feed cut. At that moment, one of the most secure starship hangars in the Empire blew open from the inside. A silhouette stepped through the smoke, human, armored, helmeted. Adam Warner walked alone. He didn't carry a weapon. He didn't have to. Every sentry drone shut down as he passed. Every guard froze, their instincts overriding years of training. He raised one hand and made a simple gesture. A holographic map lit the air. Hundreds of systems blinking red. Human-controlled now. Coordinated. Surgical. He spoke only once. "This isn't revenge." A pause. "It's clarity." Then he vanished from the feed. And the stars began to fall. Krell VA fell to his knees. What have we done? No one answered him. Because the Empire was no longer listening. It was burning. And Earth hadn't even launched their main fleet yet. Space doesn't scream when a trap snaps shut. It just goes quiet. For the Galactic Empire, that silence began with one ship, a destroyer-class warcruiser called Fury of Order, vanishing mid-jump en route to Sector 882. It didn't explode. It didn't even leave debris. One moment it was in the system manifest. The next, gone. No warning. No trace. No trajectory. Admiral Krell VA demanded an immediate sensor sweep across 5 quadrants. What he got was confusion. Satellites pointed the wrong direction, jump gates routed back into themselves, and every artificial intelligence capable of triangulating the loss simply responded. Unknown anomaly. Recommend retreat. Krell VA roared at his staff, furious at the cowardice. But deep down, he knew something was wrong. No empire, no matter how vast, should lose a dreadnought without warning. And then came the second loss. Not a ship. A planet. Jektol V, a backwater mining colony, recently added to the Empire's resource belt, was swallowed in light. Not nuclear. Not kinetic. Just erased. The Empire scrambled for explanations, but every sensor array monitoring the system had been looping a pre-recorded weather report for 13 hours straight. The voice on the loop was human. Casual. Friendly. Sunny with a chance of retribution. In the war rooms of the Empire, panic was a virus spreading across species. Reports poured in of ghost fleets moving through once secure trade routes. Supply lines severed by power surges. And always the same message encoded in corrupted files and fried databanks. You walked into this. We just closed the door. Meanwhile, in a forgotten corner of the galaxy, Eva Warner was sipping tea. The cabin was small, old Earth design, all oak panels and brass hinges, but buried inside a stealth station cloaked in the gravitational shadow of a neutron star. Human tech blended with alien salvage, a bastard child of ingenuity and revenge. Eva sat cross-legged at the table, watching data scroll across a holographic feed, unconcerned. Eli Harper leaned in the doorway, arms crossed, wearing his usual smirk and that tattered bomber jacket 2 decades out of style. You think they've figured it out yet? He asked. They haven't even realized what side of the board they're standing on, Eva replied, without looking up. You sure you want to keep watching? Could always hit the blackout protocol. Let Dad finish it. She shook her head. That's not the point. Eli whistled softly. You get that from him, you know. The whole let them see themselves die slowly thing. I get my patience from him, she corrected. The rest? That's Mom. Outside the station, a fleet of stealth drones orbited silently, feeding false readings into every galactic sensor grid. For months, no years, human intelligence teams had been feeding corrupted navigation data, splicing themselves into Empire AIs, studying their pulse. They didn't plan a war. They made the Empire invite one. It started with the trade concessions. Then came the skirmishes. The border incidents. Every mistake had been staged, each one calibrated to provoke just enough outrage for the Empire to act, but not enough for anyone to suspect bait. And then Eva had walked into their net. Alone. Polite. Smiling. By the time they grabbed her, Earth had already positioned its real weapon. Psychological supremacy. The Empire had believed themselves technologically superior. Stronger. Louder. More advanced. And they were. But humans had something else. Experience. Still no reply from the fleet? Krell VA barked as he paced his bridge. No, sir. Not a ping. It's like the whole quadrant's just empty. Then send recon. We need visuals. The image that came through seconds later nearly made the Admiral fall to his knees. A sea of Empire vessels, thousands of them, floating dead in space. No visible damage. No scorch marks. No battle scars. Just powered down. As if they'd simply given up. The Empire's proudest battle group reduced to hulks drifting silently in orbit around a lifeless moon. And written on the surface of that moon, carved in fire visible from orbit. "Welcome to Earth's trap." Krell VA couldn't breathe. Commander Rill, pale and shaking, whispered, "This isn't war. This is theater." Across the Empire, back doors and navigation systems suddenly opened, each one leading ships back to their own homeworlds, but with weapon systems reversed. In more than a few cases, planetary defense turrets lit up against their own fleets before being overridden mid-firing cycle and redirected into the void. 1,000 years of expansion began to reverse. And still, Earth had not launched a full-scale attack. Back in the stealth station, Eva sat across from her father. Adam Warner was quiet. Not distant, just still. Like a blade waiting to be unsheathed. He poured himself a cup of tea, the action absurdly calm given that several Empire sectors were currently in political and strategic freefall. "Have they given up?" Eva asked. "Not yet," Adam said. "Pride takes longer to die than ships." She looked over at him. "And if they don't surrender?" He met her eyes. "They will. But not to Earth." "Then to who?" He smiled faintly. "To you." The trap was more than sabotage. It was identity warfare. Across conquered planets, human-made AIs now whispered to local populations. Empires were stories, they said. Narratives people believed in. But Earth told better stories. Tales of resilience. Of rebellion. Of underdogs who win not by might, but by refusing to stay dead. Empire citizens began asking dangerous questions. They stopped singing the anthems. They started remembering their names. Inside the Empire's data core, a curious line of code surfaced in over 12,000 systems. "Eva is freedom. Eva is ours." The Empire tried to erase it. But by then it wasn't code anymore. It was belief. On the diplomatic front, things turned from strange to absurd. A dozen minor species, historically neutral, publicly declared allegiance to Earth. Not under duress. Not for trade. They did it because they wanted to. Because the girl who smiled in front of the executioner reminded them of themselves. And because the man who came for her never raised his voice, never issued an ultimatum, and never bragged. He just acted. And now the Empire was unraveling. Krell VA stared at a holomap showing red spreads across every region. Not missiles. Not fleets. Ideas. Ideas wrapped in humor and calm. Carried by jokes and handshakes. Signed with a smirk. He watched a leaked broadcast from a rebel world. Children dancing in the streets, painting murals of Eva's smile. Then came the final blow. A recorded meeting between Adam Warner and the Emperor himself, dated 10 years ago. In the footage, the Emperor had offered Earth protection, integration, and prosperity, if they surrendered their independence. Adam had simply responded, "We'd rather struggle on our own than thrive under someone else's leash." The Emperor had laughed. But Earth hadn't forgotten. The trap wasn't a battlefield. It was a mirror. And now the Empire was staring into it, and hating what looked back. As Krell VA ordered all remaining ships to retreat and regroup, a final message played across every major galactic channel. Eva Warner appeared again, this time with a blue backdrop behind her, the old UN insignia faintly visible. She wore no armor. No weapons. Just a navy jacket and that same, unshakable smile. "To the citizens of the galaxy," she said, "we are not your enemies." Her voice was calm, kind even. "We are your reminder." She leaned forward. "You were told we were primitive. Emotional. Divided. And maybe that was true once." She paused, letting the silence carry weight. "But so were you. Once." Images played behind her. Not war. Not burning ships. Families. Music. Laughter. Cultures. What we did to show you who you become. And who you could still be. The last image was of Eva standing beside a simple plaque. "To those who underestimated kindness." The feed cut. In the command bridge, Rill sank into his chair, stunned. "She never wanted to kill us," he murmured. "She wanted us to see." Krell VA closed his eyes. He wasn't proud. He wasn't angry. He was broken. Because he realized too late. The greatest trap Earth ever set was letting the Empire believe it was in charge. They came not in formation, but in silence. No broadcast. No fanfare. Not even a signature to trace. Just ships. Hundreds of them. Matte black. Smooth as stone and twice as cold. They appeared above the capital world of the Galactic Empire, like an ancient judgment rewritten in orbit. No energy readings, no jump signatures. As if they'd been here all along, waiting for the right moment to be seen. The Imperial High Conclave scrambled, their panicked voices a cacophony of status updates and confusion. Defensive satellites refused to target. Planetary shields flickered. A virus had rooted itself deep inside their systems, and now whispered one word in every tongue. Observe. Adam Warner stepped off the lead vessel without escort. No security detail. No ceremonial armor. Just a black overcoat, Earth-made boots, and a face that looked like it hadn't smiled in years. He walked alone through the halls of the Conclave Tower, past statues of past emperors, through chambers carved from obsidian, beneath banners stitched with the arrogance of 1,000 species. No one stopped him. Those who tried found themselves frozen, physically paralyzed by fear they could not explain. He didn't threaten them. He didn't even look at them. He just walked. In the throne chamber, Emperor the RYX awaited, flanked by his royal guard. The Emperor was twice the size of a man, armored in alloy forged from the cores of collapsed stars. His voice alone could fracture stone. For centuries he had reigned through fear, dominance, and absolute control. And for the first time in his life, he hesitated. "You dare walk these halls alone?" he demanded. Adam met his gaze. "I walked into war zones with less tension." "You've shattered order," the Emperor hissed. "You destabilized 1,000 worlds. I showed them the cracks you painted over." "This is treason," the RYX thundered. "This is war." Adam's voice was quiet, like a calm before a storm. It was never war. It was justice with a time delay. The guards lifted their weapons. Adam didn't flinch. Instead, he pulled a single object from his coat, a worn ID tag. It was cracked, barely legible. Eva's baby photo was still inside the plastic sleeve. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Do you think I fear a father's grief?" "No," Adam said. "I think you don't understand it at all." Behind him, the air shimmered. Holograms appeared mid-room, projected from the orbiting fleet. Footage of Empire atrocities. Executions. Colonies reduced to ash. Children marched in chains. Footage never meant to reach the public eye. Now playing in real time across every major world in the galaxy. "The people you ruled," Adam said softly. "You taught them to fear silence. But humans," he stepped forward, "we use silence. We load it like a weapon." The Emperor clenched his fists. "This is madness." "No," Adam replied. "Madness is thinking you can slaughter a child and not meet her father." Outside the chamber, ships in orbit began to move, not toward the planet, but outward. They activated relay buoys, releasing messages that spread like fire through every system. Earth requests no surrender. Earth expects accountability. Inside the chamber, a vibration passed through the floor. The guards stumbled. The lights flickered. But there was no impact. No explosion. "What is that?" The Emperor snapped. "Your own fleet," Adam said, shutting down. "Not destroyed. Just repurposed." "Impossible." Adam raised a hand. "Commander Harper," he said calmly into the air. "Do it." A voice replied, smooth, amused. "With pleasure, sir." In every Empire battleship, every dreadnought, the lights turned red. Systems rebooted. Control was stripped from Empire hands and replaced with Earth code. The soldiers aboard those ships didn't fight. They didn't scream. Many simply stood in silence, reading the message that blinked on every console. Your orders no longer define your morality. Aboard Devastation's Mercy, Commander Rill sat down hard in the command chair. He hadn't tried to resist the virus. He hadn't even tried to shout orders. Instead, He watched as the systems around him displayed memories. Footage of Eva in her cell. Her calm. Her patience. The quiet sadness in her smile. He felt shame crawl through him, not because he'd lost, but because she had been so much more than a target. She wasn't bait, he murmured. She was the verdict. Back in the throne room, Adam took another step closer to the Emperor, whose breathing now echoed unnaturally through his armor. You know why this worked? Adam asked. Because you thought humans were fragmented. You thought we were divided. The RYX snarled. You are. We argue, yes. We fight each other. We vote badly. We scream at each other over things that don't matter. He paused. But when you hurt one of our own, when you target our children. He dropped the ID tag onto the floor. We become one thing. A hush fell over the chamber. Monsters, Adam said, voice low. Beautiful, calculating monsters. The Emperor roared and charged. Adam didn't move. The instant the RYX crossed the seal of the dais, his armor failed. Not in one area. All of it. Plasma seals vented. Servos locked. Gravity stabilizers reversed. His body crumpled mid-stride, twisting awkwardly as the technology he trusted betrayed him. He fell forward, gasping. Adam stood over him. I didn't kill you, he said. Your empire did. He turned to leave. I'll let the galaxy decide what to do with you. You have no right, the RYX choked. Adam didn't turn back. I'm not your judge. A transmission opened before him. Eva. She stood in a simple command center, one surrounded by former Empire officials, now stripped of rank, seated beside former rebels. They watched him in silence. Is it done? She asked. Adam nodded once. He's yours now. Eva didn't smile. She just said, begin the tribunals. The feed cut. Across the stars, warships disengaged. Human fleets vanished as silently as they had arrived. Left behind were systems rebooted. Planetary shields lifted. The Empire's structure, its tyrannical web, untangled strand by strand. And above it all, one final message flickered on the galactic net. This is not conquest. This is correction. A week later, in the reconstructed council hall now led by a multi-species coalition, Adam Warner sat on a bench outside a quiet chamber. No guards. No ceremony. Just birdsong piped in from Earth, and a small cup of coffee cooling beside him. Eva stepped out. She looked tired but composed. It's done, she said softly. He stood trial. They voted. Adam met her gaze. And? Life sentence. No public execution. He gets to watch the galaxy he broke rebuild itself without him. Adam nodded slowly. That's mercy, he said. She looked down. Did we do the right thing? We gave them a choice, he replied. That's more than they gave us. Eva sat beside him. For a long moment, they didn't speak. Then, after a quiet beat, she leaned against his shoulder. He placed a hand over hers. We didn't start this, she whispered. But we finished it, he said. And above them, stars turned peacefully in the dark, no longer watching a galaxy at war, but one finally learning to listen again.